Report to the 5-star generals, global situation briefing. November 2nd, first piece of intelligence. Trump had just left. China made the first move. The Ministry of Commerce announced export controls on tungsten, antimony, and silver. The rare earth ban remains paused for a year. But since these three metals don't count as rare earths, Beijing didn't violate the terms of the recent talks. The US definitely didn't see that coming. China's playing more and more cards. These non-ferrous metals are also powerful bargaining chips. Trump's got one strength. He's straightforward. But that's also his weakness. He changes his mind too easily. So this time, China struck first, making sure he doesn't get another chance to flip the table. Second piece of intelligence. The two US parties are still tearing each other apart, and the country is running out of cash. Things are completely out of control now. On November 1st, it broke out that millions of Americans relying on SNAP benefits didn't get their payments this month. That's 42 million people, roughly 1 in every 8 Americans, who might go hungry. All this chaos comes down to partisan infighting. The government's been shut down for almost a month, and Congress has failed 13 times to pass a funding bill. Republicans accuse Democrats of refusing to release money on purpose. The Department of Agriculture even posted blame-shifting statements on its website. Democrats, in turn, claim Republicans are using the poor as bargaining chips. Now 25 states have sued the federal government, and the courts ruled that SNAP benefits can't be halted. But the Agriculture Department still hasn't sent out the money, even though it's sitting on a $5 billion emergency fund, claiming that it can only be used for disaster relief. In truth, Republicans want to cut welfare to save money, while Democrats want to protect it to win votes. Neither side is backing down, and the ones suffering are low-income families, people with disabilities, and federal workers. With unpaid salaries, delayed flights, and shut down public services, the dinner tables of 42 million Americans have become casualties of Washington's political warfare. Third piece of intelligence. Zelensky is celebrating Ukraine's drone attacks that supposedly cut Russia's refining capacity by 20%. But he's conveniently ignoring one thing. Ukraine itself can no longer produce enough natural gas and is surviving on imports just to keep the lights on. What started as a conflict has been turned into a full-scale war by Zelensky. But war isn't just about fighting, it's about overall strength. And on that front, Ukraine holds no advantage. Yet Zelensky keeps gambling, trying to turn the tables. On the battlefield, things are bleak. Reports from Krasnoarmysk Red Army City say Russian forces have broken through, capturing most of the area and trapping Ukrainian troops in the remaining pockets. Kiev even sent 11 Special Forces troops on a Black Hawk helicopter to break the encirclement. But within minutes of landing, all of them were wiped out. Meanwhile, the US has long wanted to exit this war, quietly pushing Kiev to negotiate. But Zelensky keeps doubling down, thinking he can still win. But let's be real, Ukraine lacks manpower, lacks resources, and now even lacks gas for the winter. If this continues, will Zelensky really fight until the very last Ukrainian? Fourth piece of intelligence. The US military has been flexing in the Caribbean for 2 months now, talking non-stop about blowing up Venezuela. Lately, American media even claimed that Trump had given the green light and that the strike would start tonight. But then Trump turned around and flat out denied it, saying there's no such order. Meanwhile, Maduro's losing his mind. He's mobilizing 1 million militia troops for military drills and begging China and Russia for anti-ship missiles and drones, terrified the US might actually pull the trigger. But let's be honest, Trump doesn't have the guts to start a war right now. The US is a mess internally. The government's been shut down for a month. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers haven't been paid, and even some military paychecks are delayed. Externally, no one's backing the US. Latin American countries oppose the war. Europe is silent, and China and Russia are watching closely. The truth is, this whole attack Venezuela story is just media psyops, spreading fear to undermine Maduro and stir chaos inside Venezuela. So now Trump's stuck. He wants to attack but can't. can't attack but doesn't want to look weak. If he really launches this war, America will end up knee-deep in another quagmire. And that's a price he can't afford to pay. Fifth piece of intelligence. The EU is fighting itself again. This time it's a power struggle between the foreign minister and the president. EU Foreign Affairs Chief Kaja Kallas tried to appoint her own person as chief advisor. But EU President Ursula von der Leyen shut it down right away, didn't even allow a vote. Total defeat for Kallas. And this isn't just a personnel squabble, it's a battle for power. Kallas wants control over foreign policy, while von der Leyen is holding tight to budgets and appointments. Neither side is giving an inch. Meanwhile, the EU is already in deep trouble. Resources are being drained by the Russia-Ukraine war, internal fights over energy transition, America's stealing industries. China relations are getting harder by the day. But instead of dealing with all that, the top brass is busy fighting over one advisor position. The funniest part, the EU's decision-making is so slow it's almost comical. Minus 27 countries have to agree on everything. And on average it takes 14 months to pass a single policy. While China and the US are both making big strategic moves, Europe is stuck bickering with itself. To put it bluntly, the EU is slowly sidelining itself. Sixth piece of intelligence. Totally expected. And no surprise, the US is already backtracking. Right after the China-US business talks brought some good news, the US canceled tariffs on fentanyl-related products and paused the 301 investigation into China's shipbuilding industry before companies could even breathe a sigh of relief. US Trade Representative Catherine Tai jumped out and said she'd keep investigating whether China honored the 2020 trade deal. That excuse doesn't hold water at all. The 2020 trade agreement required China to buy an extra $200 billion in US goods. But the shortfall wasn't because China didn't buy. It's because America couldn't deliver. Remember, Boeing's crash grounded their planes, so China couldn't buy those even if it wanted to. Then COVID hit, wrecking the supply chains. What's really going on? It's likely Trump already found out that under the 301 tariff case, Chinese ports had been collecting US ship fees for half a month, while the US side hadn't collected a dime yet. Pure inefficiency. In short, the US got the short end of the stick in this whole trade dispute. Now Trump's a bit embarrassed. The America First guy just got played by China's port fees. So before the new trade agreement is officially sealed, he's making some noise to save face, hoping to look tough again.